So when most YouTube travel vloggers come to China, they pretty much go to Beijing, Shanghai, maybe Xi'an, maybe Chongqing. But one of the most underrated places that I think people tend to miss out is here in Qingdao, in Shandong province in northeastern China. And it's actually here is one of the first places I lived, 2008. I lived here for a year, started my martial art journey here, and then later moved to Yantai, which is where I did the bulk of my training. And in case you haven't been following the main channel, I'm here with my friend Alexander Petty from Ravenswood Academy. We're filming a series about the origins of 7-star Mantis. We've been following it. Alex has started his journey in Hong Kong, and then we met up in Shanghai, and then we've come up here to Shandong to see the origins. So I know I already did a video a couple of weeks back where I was talking about a lot of the changes that I've seen living in China over the past 18 years. But I feel like here in Qingdao, it's a lot more in my face, it's a lot more apparent because I lived here in 2008 for 1 year. I visited a few times for some martial arts events over the years, but I think the last time I came here was probably around 2015 or so. So it's been a good 10 years since I've been here. So it's been quite interesting walking around and just seeing how it's developed and how it's changed. It's always been a big tourist place for domestic tourism, you know, coming down to the seafront, seeing the old German architecture. But what I've seen is I felt like just walking around now, there's less of a focus on kind of mass tourism. There's a lot more little shops where people can go buy little local souvenirs. They can sit in these little gardens and drink beer, you know, have some, like, have coffee, have iced tea or whatever. Like, they've sort of definitely changed the vibe to be a bit more, even say gentrified. It's always been a big tourist city, you know, ever since I lived here. It's always been a huge place for domestic tourism. But what I've seen over the years is, you know, whereas back then there was a lot more just mass tour groups, you know, crowding around a couple of photo spots. But now I'm seeing there's a lot more these little gardens where you can sit, have a beer, have an iced tea, you know, a lot more kind of a relaxed vibe, people just kind of enjoying wandering around these quiet streets, and definitely it's improved for the better here. What about you, Alex? What's your first impression wandering around Qingdao?
I mean, it's a classic port city, right? So you have all this influence coming in, both olden times and now, right by the sea. So you've got a nice little beautiful beach to chill at, but like you were saying, I think they're kind of gearing it and setting it up to where they want to create these places where you want to go as a local if you are living here day to day. And I think that's going to be, I guess, longer lasting and more beneficial for them economy wise, and also just for the average person who wants to live here and enjoy their time here. It's going to be good in the long run, definitely. I mean, we're seeing these nice little streets that you could imagine yourself walking up and down, and in these little gardens, these little cafes. You can kind of just imagine yourself hopping on a scooter and like driving by the sea, checking out these nice little shops. I mean, looks like a nice city to live in.
It is. I'm very pleasantly surprised because back when I lived here in 2008, I mean, we had this nice, you know, German area, but it was a bit of a tough place to live, I'd say, back then. Hey guys, I want to interrupt this video briefly just to recommend a product to you. If you're thinking about coming out here to China to train martial arts or just to travel or whatever, but you're concerned about accessing your foreign apps on your phone, YouTube, Facebook, everything like that, a lot of people nowadays are recommending VPNs, but I'll be completely honest with you, speaking from experience, a lot of the VPNs are not working reliably here in China anymore. And so I'm going to offer you an alternative solution, and that is an eSIM by Arello. So Arello offers a range of eSIMs for different countries and regions all around the world, not just for here in China, but if you are traveling and you're in need of an eSIM, it's honestly a lot better, more efficient than, you know, landing in the airport, trying to find a store where you can buy a local SIM card, worrying if the store's even going to be open, if you're arriving, you know, early in the morning or late at night, worrying they're going to give you the best deal. You know, you can have that all ready to go as soon as you land. And if you are here in China specifically, their China eSIM accesses a Hong Kong data network, meaning that you can get onto fully unrestricted internet without the need of a VPN. As you can see from the skyline, I am right here in Shanghai. I'm not using a VPN, I'm accessing YouTube, I'm accessing Instagram, I'm accessing Facebook, all of which without using a VPN, just from Arello's China eSIM. Now, if you sign up using the link below, you can get 15% off your first purchase or 10% off if you're a returning customer. It's really a great opportunity and I can't recommend this app enough. So since I came back to China earlier this year, I've spent pretty much all of my time in Shanghai, bar a few small trips to some nearby places in Zhejiang and Jiangsu. So pretty much in that kind of very highly developed area of China, you know, what they would kind of say is like the showcase place, the kind of, you know, the part of China they really want to show off to foreigners, and they want, you know, they want to kind of say, look how developed we are, look how great China is. But then coming up to Yantai for the last few days, where we were just there to film martial arts, that was kind of an interesting experience because Yantai hadn't really changed at all. You know, since the last time I'd been there in 2017, it was still like stuck in time. You know, the pavements, the roads are all like in disrepair. A lot of the buildings are kind of crumbly. It's still those sort of very 90s style, old little grimy restaurants. There wasn't really sort of much variety of food other than, you know, local stuff in those kind of grimy little hole in the wall places.
Some dimly lit malls.
Yeah, but you know, you come to Qingdao now and it honestly, I would say it's on a par with Shanghai. Like it's really clean, it's really orderly, it's really pleasant, it's a nice place to be. It's well developed.
Yeah, with its own little charm. I mean, Will and I have been walking past, we just got done with this big kind of long run where there's all these benches you can sit in the shade, and I could see enjoying here as a visitor, so they've got that for their economy going, but then just genuinely as a person who wants to live here, I can see myself meeting up with a friend, walking these nice little walkways, sitting in the shade. I mean, it's pretty nice.
You know what, having just lived in Sydney for the past few years, I'm actually really getting Sydney vibes here. I mean,
I see it.
This literally feels like Manly, where I lived for a while in the northern shores of Sydney. It literally feels like that.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to oversell or overhype, but you know, you've got these nice stretches of kind of nothing where it's by the beach, under the trees, almost more naturalistic. But then right here, you've got clearly all these shops and restaurants, so you can kind of, you know, pick and choose.
And you know what one of the interesting little ironies is? Just over 100 years ago, the Germans came here, they implanted their culture on this peninsula of China, you know, the German architecture, the German beer, all that stuff. And now 100 years later, Mantis Kung Fu, which comes from right here in Shandong, is really popular in Germany. It's like it's now you've got all these Germans coming to China, not to bring their culture, but to get some of the Chinese culture. It's a complete reversal.
That's a back and forth. I mean, this might be of interest. People interested in like that kind of thing or travel broadly. But in Texas, it's the same thing. You have these little German towns. If you just pull out a Texas map rather, you'll see these towns with a German name. And you can go there and they've got their craft beer, they've got little remnants of the architecture.
Isn't there like they call it Texan Deutsch or something? Like there's still places where they speak a kind of almost medieval German.
I think so. I don't know too much about it, but they're there. So look it up and dive down that rabbit hole if you wish, if this kind of stuff interests you, definitely.
Something I thought would be interesting to share with you guys is, you know, over on the main Monkey Steals Peach channel, I previously talked about my journey in martial arts, how I came to start the YouTube channel, how I came to train martial arts here in China. But I thought it'd be cool to talk about, just in a more general sense, how just coming and living in China as a place, you know, experiencing a different culture and a way of life has changed my perspective on things. And I think, you know, one of the most interesting things about it is, you know, we all say like travel enriches you, right? But honestly speaking, a lot of times, a lot of people when they travel, they go to like very backpacker friendly places. They end up in, you know, a hostel in Koh Samui in Thailand or something, and they're hanging out with other Westerners, getting wasted, going to full moon parties.
Tourist traps.
Yeah, they may have their like Buddhist temple experience or something, but coming and living in China, I think not only does it help you to experience and give you an opportunity to experience and learn about another culture, but I mean China is politically completely opposed and opposite to everything we've grown up to in the West. You have a completely, it's a one-party communist state. It's
maybe a little bit more chaotic driving.
yeah, and so that I think is one area that really kind of opens your eyes, because it's not very often that you really get to hear someone with a completely different worldview. I mean, like, in the West we have conservatives, we have liberals, we have religious people, we have atheists, but you don't ever really come into contact with someone who's grown up under a completely almost parallel universe in just everything, from the system of governance to the education you go through to the entire way of viewing the world and a place within the world.
The food, the writing, the culture, the philosophy.
Yeah. And so, living here, I think, it really kind of draws it home that there are other ways to view the world. It doesn't mean that you have to suddenly accept and take on board, Marxism, Maoism, or whatever, but, just to actually talk to people that this is how I view the world, this is what I think about things, and to be able to be okay with that and accept, your differences, but to hear their point of view and why they have these views.
Definitely. That's the heart of education, of academia. You should be able to entertain those thoughts, even if you don't necessarily subscribe, and try and see it from their point of view. And I think by doing so, I mean, you're highlighting physical training on your other channel, which has its physical and mental benefits, but then just the mind and running into other ways to view things, other ways to look at things. I mean, some of that you might take, some of that you might not, but either way, it's almost like exercise for your mind or your brain. Saying, well, hey, why do I think differently about this? Having to articulate your arguments or lay things out, I mean, it's just a good mental exercise and can be kind of fun, as we're seeing.
Yeah.